In 2024, when we think of elections, we think of two parties running against each other, and a candidate with the most votes wins the race. And that's usually how it happens, but not always. Here are four unconventionally elected presidents. Number 4, James Monroe. The year 1820. He's already president, and he's trying to figure out how to get reelected. See, a lot of stuff happened during the feel-good era of his presidency. And that was the Federalist Party collapsed. And that was the opposition party. He is a Democratic Republican. So when it comes to election time, there really isn't an opposition. So there are only two presidents who was elected with no opposition. It's James Monroe and George Washington. Number 3, John Quincy Adams. So if you thought it was confusing to not have any opposition running against the sitting president, imagine how confusing it would be to have only people from the same party running against each other. The very next election after James Monroe did exactly that. Here we have John Quincy Adams and who would be president eventually, Andrew Jackson. They were both Democratic Republicans. And there were two additional Democratic Republicans. There were 4 running against each other. To be even a little bit more confusing is both of these guys had the same vice president running on their ticket. Funny enough, the other 2 Democratic Republicans running for president, they didn't have the same vice president running with them, but both of their vice presidents were named Nathan. So in a result that surprised nobody, there were no clear winners. Although I will say, to be fair, Andrew Jackson did have the popular vote, but there was no electoral winner. So what happens when there's no clear winner through Electoral College? Well, that's when the House of Representatives gets involved. And they held what's called a contingent election, where they basically decide who is going to be the next president through their own vote. So they basically handed the vote to John Quincy Adams. And let's just say that caused friction for the next 4 years. This was one of only 2 elections to ever have to be taken to the House. Number 2, Ulysses S. Grant. In modern times, we're used to seeing, when you're watching the election on Election Day, the popular vote and a projection of the electoral votes. And, within the week of voting, within the day really, you have a pretty good idea of where the electoral votes are going. And that's not always been the case.